What's up, guys? Welcome to the 330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin. I'm going to bring on Greg Kirchner here in a minute. Today's show, we're going to do three things. Basically, you can see it down there on the ticker. We're going to be recording this. It's Sunday night, February 1st. By the time you guys see this, it's probably going to be Tuesday. But anyway, the basics of this, we're going to break down the movie Miracle based on the 1980 USA Miracle on Ice. It was a 2004 Disney film. So we're going to get into all of that. Also, with our movie breakdown, we're going to talk about some of our favorite underdogs in sports through at least our history, maybe going back a little bit before that. And then at the end, we're going to go through with the Olympics coming up here in Italy this coming week. The opening ceremonies are this coming Friday. Greg and I are going to draft our favorite winter Olympic sports. And Summer Olympics is awesome, but there's just something cool, no pun intended, about the Winter Olympics. They're dangerous. They're like there's like an element of death in them in a lot of these sports and disciplines that are in the Olympics, in the winter ones in particular. So we're going to talk about all of that coming up in a little bit, but we are going to start with the 1980 portrayal of the 1980 Miracle on Ice. So it's a true story of Herb Brooks, the player turned coach who led the 1980 U.S. Olympic team to victory over the seemingly invincible Soviet squad. So I'm going to bring in Greg Kirchner here, and let's get right into it, Greg. So this movie was directed by Gavin O'Connor, written by Eric Guggenheim. That's a great name there. But this movie got a lot of acclaim. A lot of people say it's one of the better sports movies of all time. And I actually watched it for the first time last week. I had never seen it. I knew the story, obviously, of the Miracle on Ice, but I had never actually seen the movie. So we had a lot of snow, a lot of cold this past week. So a lot of time for me to catch up on a great movie like this. And I'm glad I watched it. It was really entertaining. It's kind of like one of those like Titanic. You know how it ends, but you want to see how they get there. So yeah, your thoughts on this movie before we go in depth on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was thinking about this today. It's I think the underdog story, as a movie plot line, is probably one of the probably highest success rate you could have in a movie, right? And this one, the 1980 Miracle on Ice is one of, if not the greatest underdog story, at least in American sports history. So you kind of have the factor where you're already setting yourself up for success when you have a good underdog story. This being one of the best there is, it was a movie that probably was out there, a plot line that was out there for a long time, but it still has to be done right. And I think probably the hardest thing of this movie is how do you top the real thing? You can't top the real thing. So
exactly,
how do you do it justice? And now neither of us were alive in 1980, but I think the movie really does do a good job of doing it justice in a little bit of a Disney way. But we'll talk about some things. But it is pretty, as I understand it, it was really pretty true to life for the most part, unlike some portrayals out there of events. So
yeah, very, very realistic. And we're going to get into, when we do these movie breakdowns, we have categories that we dive into every time, and we're going to do most of them. I simplified this one a little bit, kind of weeded out a few categories that we don't really need, but we will get into our favorite scenes, favorite quote, which I'm guessing is probably the same. It's probably an obvious one. We're going to do some facts and trivia, our favorite song or needle drop in the movie, what age the best, what age the worst, maybe if we have any complaints or grievances about the movie, if there's any unanswerable questions, I think in true to the story, there's maybe not as many. Our MVP and what piece of memorabilia would we want from this movie? So that's where we're gonna go with this. But real quick, so doing some research on this, I did very minimal research. Normally when we do these, I dive deep into these, but this one I kind of just did the basics. But Herb Brooks obviously is the main character of this story, the head coach of the US team. University of Minnesota Golden Gopher head coach, becomes the United States coach for this. He, in fact, was the last player cut from the gold winning USA hockey team in 1960. Then the Soviets go on to win the next four in 1964, 1968, 1972, and 1976 before the Winter Olympics, come back to the United States in Lake Placid, New York in 1980. So they start this movie. They basically do a tryout, kind of like any of us that have been through tryouts in high school, college, whatever. And they get it down to 26 players. And then throughout the movie, at least the first third of the movie, they got to whittle that down to 20 players. And that's always a tough thing as a coach. But, there's college rivalries in this. There's some interesting other facts that we're going to dive into. So I guess let's just start with the actors and like the people that are portraying some of these characters. So what are some of your general impressions on, first of all, like Kurt Russell? What's your thoughts on him and some of the rest of the cast of this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is up there for me as like, one of the better coach portrayals in any sports movie. I would liken it to this. I mean, Kurt Russell is a phenomenal actor, as you have on the board there. He's been in a lot of movies. He's been in our lives for a long time. One of the ways that, I'd judge a great performance would be like, I mean, like, I guess I'll parallel to like, I watched We Are Marshall like a couple weeks ago, and it's another great movie. Matthew McConaughey plays the coach and he does a great job. But the entire time, it's like Matthew McConaughey as a football coach.
Right.
And that's pretty normal. Like some actors are just like, they're good actors, but they're still like, you can't get past that it's that person. I don't know about you, but in this performance, like I feel like Kurt Russell becomes Herb Brooks, and he's not even really Kurt Russell in this movie, which I think is about the highest praise you can give somebody, that like you don't even really recognize the actual actor. So I think, and again, I don't really know Herb Brooks that well, other than like, when you see highlights and different things and a few documentaries over the years. But, I think he just immerses himself in the character. And I think he's absolutely phenomenal in this movie. And he is the star of the show. There's no question about it.
Right.
A lot of the and not many of them are very recognizable. The kids on the team are good, are do a really good job of like, playing young hockey players. There are a lot of, and I think it's good that they're not recognizable faces. If you had like Ryan Gosling and like, Chris Pratt as like players, that would be distracting when you go back and watch it. So I kind of like the fact that they look like hockey players, and they are hockey players because they kind of prioritized skating ability and skill over ability to act, because they knew that it would just give the movie a more obviously you have to have people that can play hockey or the movie won't feel right. And the acting side, I mean, maybe it suffered a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. So I thought that was really good. We could talk a little bit about Patricia Clarkson. I think maybe in picking nits or whatever, it's like, we've talked about this with so many sports movies. It's just hard it's always hard. The female character is a challenge.
It is.
The wife is a challenge. She's not a wet blanket, which is great. Like there's so many wet blankets, but she's just like, she's a great actress and tremendously talented, and just doesn't have a lot to do in the movie. And it just is the reality of how these movies can be sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I 100% agree. I was going to say with her, they almost use her character as adding more stress to her brother's character, which as a former coach, I know the stress that, and I coached at the high school level. I didn't coach at the college level. I didn't coach at the professional level. I didn't coach at the Olympic level. And the hours and the time you have to put in, even at the high school level, is ridiculous. And it takes away from important things like family, friends, obligations. You literally are consumed by that as a coach. And you can see maybe that's where her character is like, hey, like you got a family here too, a little bit. So
Yeah.
But I agree. It's a great point. So some of the other characters as well. We're going to talk plenty about Kurt Russell, but Patricia Clarkson, you touched on her. Noah Emmerich is one of that guys. He's like in a lot of movies, and I just kept watching this, and I'm like, where the hell have I seen him before? And I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, but The Truman Show was the first one that I thought of. He's Truman's best friend in The Truman Show, and that's the role to me that I like after it clicked. And then the other that guy, and we'll talk about Noah Emmerich in a minute too, as Craig Patrick, the assistant coach. Sean McCann as Walter Bush, which is the Amateur Hockey Association guy. I was like, where have I seen him? And then I'm like, Chris Farley. Oh, like Tommy Boy. He's the guy at the table after Tommy Boy's dad dies, and he is like so recognizable. He looks identical. So that's where like he stuck out to me. Kenneth Welsh, the doc, I didn't really recognize. I know he's been in a bunch of other stuff, but I didn't necessarily recognize him. But Noah Emmerich and Sean McCann, both that guys for me in this movie.
Yeah, that's a great pull on Sean McCann. I hadn't made that connection, so that's good. Yeah, I mean, it's a good cast. I think it's like, sometimes it's more of a kind of a one person show. There's a true star of the show, and sometimes you have a great ensemble. This one is, you really do have kind of one big star, but you have some other recognizable faces. And then, like we said, you have some non-recognizable faces. But I think for what the movie's trying to do, it actually works really well. Like I said, if you had like a bunch of stars, it would be distracting.
Yeah, that's an excellent point too. That's an excellent point, because you want to focus on the story. And Kurt Russell, he cooks in this movie. Get out of his way. He knows what he's doing. Like you said, he embodies the character and makes you feel like, you're in that locker room with them. You're on the ice with them. And man, he was we'll get to his coaching style in a little bit, which is not my coaching style, but man, I can appreciate what he did. Before we get into it, though, so this movie came out in 2004. You and I just did our favorite movies of the 21st century. So I just wrote down some movies from 2004. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Anchorman, which made both of our lists, $1 Million Baby, Sideways, can't beat that one, Team America, World Police, The Notebook, The Incredibles, Napoleon Dynamite, Mean Girls, The Butterfly Effect, Dodgeball, An Underdog Story, Euro Trip, Friday Night Lights, and National Treasure. Those were some of the movies. That's a pretty damn good movie.
Hell of a year. Yeah.
Speaking of hell of a year, so this movie actually takes place in 1980. Do you know any movies that came out in 1980? That's a hell of a pull off the top of it. That's
1980. Offhand, no. E.T. was like 82. Yeah, nothing off the top of my head.
So the first few on this list are bangers, but I'm just going to list a few off. So in that year, so after the United States goes out and wins the gold medal in hockey, you could have went and saw The Shining, Raging Bull, which is a hell of a sports movie, maybe one of the top boxing movies ever.
Not a great rewatchable, but a great movie.
Yeah,
a little bit of a
100% agree. 100% agree. Star Wars, which would be episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, Airplane, Ordinary People, The Ordinary People, which I believe was Robert Redford in that one, The Fog, which is I think a Stephen King movie. The Blues Brothers, Friday the 13th, the original, and 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton and some others in that one. So pretty good movie year in 1980 as well. So thought I would throw that out there with this. But all right, let's go ahead on and let's just get right into the nuts and bolts of it here. Let's get into the freaking meat of this movie. Let's start with our favorite scene. So we don't really need to like dissect the beginning to the end. We can get into that throughout like our talk here, but I want you to start on this one. Like there's a bunch to choose from, but what is your absolute favorite scene in this movie?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I feel like it's tough to go with really anything other than the actual game against the Soviets, which I guess you can probably call that one scene. I know we're obviously going to talk about the speech. I would say from the speech to the conclusion of the game. I mean, obviously it's a climax of the movie. It's probably the easy answer, but to me, that's your payoff. That's what you're waiting for. It's coming, and I think the hockey's really great, and the way they were able to recreate that game.
Yeah,
the way they weaved in Al Michaels, like they weaved in a lot, like some of his original call, but then like presumably to match up the action with the commentary, like Al Michaels came and kind of redid some of the commentary. I just think it's all really well done. Hockey we don't have a lot of experience with like hockey movies, and I imagine it's kind of like basketball and football in a way that they're really hard to shoot. And I feel like they really did a good job with the hockey, made it feel really realistic. And that game is just, the culmination of everything.
Like outside of like, that's a good point. You brought that up. Outside of this movie, the Mighty Ducks, and is it Slapshot?
Slapshot, yeah.
I can't really think. There's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie called like Sudden Death.
Yeah,
that's pretty great. It's a bad. It's a good bad movie. Those are like the only hockey movies I could really think of off the top of my head, though. But that's a great point. Like it is hard to recreate really good hockey, probably on the big screen.
And you're having to like actually recreate the game itself. So you have the game in front of you, and you have to, and I think that's where there's different ways you can do it, right? You could use real footage of the game, and then some movies would do that. They would use the actual footage from the game, and then they would weave in stuff on the benches and stuff like that. But they chose to go the route of basically recreating the action, recreating the commentary, and like that's a risk.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, they did a good job with it, because that could very easily, you want to talk about ways you could screw up the movie. Like if you screw that up, it's like, the movie's nothing.
Right. Yeah. So the actual like, and better than me on this. So like, were any of those scenes, do you think, embellished, or was it like play for play? Like,
yeah, there's
pretty close.
In reading up, there were like a few like small embellishments, but I think the general takeaway, and we'll talk about in some of the picking nits. I mean, there are a few things that were, some liberties were taken, and a few things that might have been added, but more or less, especially when you get into that game, it's pretty true to how it happened. So yeah, it's not like, there was a whole play that was manufactured that never happened. There may have been some small details that were embellished a little bit, but not much. Like, so I think it's pretty true to what the game was.
So there was that one play. I can't remember if it's at the end of the first period or the second period. There's like 8 or 10 seconds left. The guy like basically hits it from the opposite blue line at the Russian goalie or at the USSR goalie. So that was legit then. Like it
was like a rush at the end of the first period where they legitimately USA legitimately scored to tie the game at 2 with like 1 second left. So
Wow.
that was pretty real. Yeah. As far
Wow.
as how that
Okay.
happened. So,
All right. So that, I mean,
yeah.
that's legit drama then, like,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that.
Now, some of like the Herb Brooks calling like a guy out onto the ice and then that guy scores like immediately after, did that actually happen that way? I don't, but that's movies. That's movie shit.
And that was
Kind
the
of,
kid that was hurt, right? And missed
yeah. 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 So, I mean,
round.
that may, you know, you're not really going to know if that actually happened or not. But yeah, but more or less, as far as the action was real. So,
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. So I guess when we're talking favorite scenes, like if I'm like going into this, I kind of am taking a scene from that game, but and this I guess could be part of like the quote, my one of my favorite quotes, but I would put this as runner up to my favorite quote, but I took this as a whole scene. He says, like, and there's some sort of timeout, and I think there's maybe like 10 minutes left in the third period. And the crowd just starts chanting USA, USA, USA. And like he's got the whole team there. And he said, listen to them. You did this. And like that just like kind of just gave me chills, almost as much as the locker room speech because, like you feel it with the crowd, the momentum's all going their way. And again, I know what happens, but it's the build up to the climax that's phenomenal. Now we haven't even got into, and I don't want to get too much into the, the political, climate, but that's obviously why this game was so important. The Cold War is going on. It's 1980. Jimmy Carter, I believe, was the president at the time, right before Ronald Reagan came in. But this movie kind of like builds up with like TV broadcasts, radio announcements, news reports, and stuff of basically a very tense world stage. Afghanistan, Iran, obviously USSR. America, like everybody is involved in this tumultuous world stage, and the hockey it's just a hockey game. It's just a hockey game, but for Americans, this meant so much more, and that's why this was so important. So, I guess if you can touch on a little bit of the political climate and like what you knew of it or what you think that meant to this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, you called it. It's kind of like I don't know if it's necessarily the height of the Cold War. I think, the height of the Cold War was probably in the 60s with like Cuban Missile Crisis and some of the things like that. But, this is like the Cold War is going on. There's a lot of, I think there was even there was an Iranian hostage situation that happened like, during the movie. And a lot of uncertainty also just around like Olympic boycotts and whether like, there was talk of, and I believe that the US did ultimately boycott the 1980 Summer Games in Moscow.
Interesting. Okay.
And there was there was talk of that. I can actually Google that. I should have probably looked at that, but I thought that we did. Yeah, we did boycott. So we boycotted the upcoming Summer Olympics.
Nations.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was talk, and they addressed it in the movie about, I don't think it had come out that we were officially boycotting, but there was talk of the boycott. So then there was potentially like that Russia would maybe counter boycott the 80 Olympics in the US, which they didn't do. But yeah, I mean, you had East and West Germany, you had all kinds of different, again, there's parallels to kind of things that are happening today. There's always kind of disruptions in the world and weird political stuff. But yeah, it was a very, but I think I will say it was, different than unfortunately what we have today was patriotism was at a real high because it was
Yes.
like, there was this real sense of, you know, unity within the country, at least. I mean, I think there's still, people on opposite sides of the aisle, obviously, but, there was a real patriotism and there was a real kind of like, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys sort of thing. And now, unfortunately, today, there's a lot of turmoil within the country, right? There's a lot of like division within the country itself. So, but all that, go ahead.
To your point there, like the thing that I think like the unity portion of this going back to the 1980 compared to our lives makes me think of after September 11th. It was like everyone is together. It's a USA. It's not Democrats. It's not Republicans. It's everyone together. It's a USA thing. It's not this climate we're in now where it's either you're a liberal or you're a conservative or you're, you can't see eye to eye. So, So better times.
And sports, like, we say it was just a game. Yeah. But, as we know, sports can be that kind of uniting factor sometimes.
Yes.
It can be that thing that, that thing that we can all jump into 2 feet and be in it together, which really, when you talk to people who are around, and like old enough to remember 1980 and where they were and what they were doing, you hear a lot of people say this was the greatest sporting event of their lifetime and just what it meant. And it was like it was almost like and we don't have a lot of that right now, not because of the climate that we're in. I think just, because the Olympics are different. There's professional players playing and all that, but we don't have a lot in sports where, I mean, it was like you could run outside your house like after that game was over and other people would be outside and you could be out there celebrating like all together. Now we have that with like Buckeye stuff and things like that, but like where they truly like the entire country was like rallied around this game. And that is one thing that does make sports pretty special. It's not going to end wars. It's not going to solve world hunger, but it can bring a lot of different people together in a special way when it works out. And this is maybe the best example of that in American history.
Well said. Well said. So let's go right on to your well said statement there to Kurt Russell's. And I don't think we need to debate the favorite quote of the movie. I think we could just, unfortunately I can't play it, but it's there. So you want to take it? You want to read it?
I'll do it without the pausing. Otherwise it'll take like 5 minutes, but this is like, you want to talk about chills. You want to talk about just ready to run or skate through a wall. I mean, this is it. So yeah, great moments are born from great opportunity, which in and of itself right there, that's a perfect quote.
I want to get that tattooed on my ass.
Yeah. That's what you have here tonight, boys. That's what you've earned here tonight. One game. If we played them 10 times, they might win 9, but not this game. Not tonight. Tonight we skate with them. Tonight we stay with them. And we shut them down because we can. Tonight we are the greatest hockey team in the world. You were born to be hockey players, every one of you, and you are meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Their time is done. It's over. I'm sick and tired of hearing about what a great hockey team the Soviets have. Screw them. This is your time. Now go out there and take it. I mean,
boom. It doesn't get much better than that.
It's and again, that's really, I mean, probably pretty true to what the actual speech was.
Yeah.
Russell nails it. It's like the lead up to it. It's like, it's a top 5 movie coach speech. I mean, there's, Any Given Sunday, Pacino has a great one. There's a good one in Rudy, but that's more like a quick one. I mean, there's Friday Night Lights. There's great, but that is like right up there.
It truly is. And he's not yelling, he's not screaming, but you can hear the passion in his voice. And the fact that the locker room is completely dead silent other than just him talking. And then even after he clears the room for like a few seconds, like everybody's still kind of taking it in, and it's kind of like, you know what, maybe we can do this. And yeah, that there's something special about that. So
and great music and great everything and great suspense leading up to it, and Russell nails it. And that speech is much better in a Minnesota accent, which I didn't want to try to break it. It's just everything you could want. You need those moments in a sports movie, and they can be cheesy. They can be cheesy when they're not done right, and that one was just A+.
Yeah, that one was like very, very well done. Put him right up there at the top of the like we do these movie drafts, and we do these, this was a legit speech that actually happened before maybe the most important game in United States history, past, present, and future, at least for the foreseeable future. And extremely well done at every level. So real quick. So I took a look at the roster. So we mentioned there was 20 players. It got narrowed down to 20 players. And 20 players, and then Herb Brooks as the coach, an assistant coach in Craig Patrick. There was a manager. There was a goalie coach, a physician, a trainer, and an equipment manager. So you total all that up, that's 27 people. There were only 4 states represented, however, out of all of those people. Can you I know you know 2 of the states, but can you name the states that were represented?
Yeah, I know 3 of them definitely. So Minnesota and Massachusetts were the vast majority. I think there's Michigan, and I would guess maybe a Dakota.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. Okay.
Wisconsin. Yeah. So, So, believe it or not, 18 of those 27 players and coaches were from Minnesota. 18. So what? 2/3 right there.
Yeah.
5 from Massachusetts, 2 from Michigan, 2 from Wisconsin. So that's all of them. 5 from Massachusetts, 2 Michigan, 18 Minnesota, 2 Wisconsin. However, Ohio, Bowling Green State University, you had Mark Wells, a forward, and you also had Ken Morrow. They were the Michigan representatives.
Yeah.
But they also played college hockey at Bowling Green State University in Northwest Ohio. That's kind of a cool nugget there. So, I just thought that was really cool. But obviously hockey has become more prevalent across the country. It was pretty regionalized back then, but it was cool to see the Minnesota-Boston rivalry that you touched upon. But that leads me into Herb Brooks' coaching style. And we talked about the quote. We talked about some of our favorite scenes, but we didn't get into his coaching style too much. And there's a scene at the beginning, towards the beginning of this movie after the team is chosen, where a couple of the guys get in a fight. It's a Boston guy, it's a Minnesota guy. He kind of lets them fight it out and then say, all right, who do you play for? And finally someone, after the whole again, after that, someone says, who do you, I play for the United States of America, and that's what he was trying to get at. But getting to his coaching style, what'd you think about his coaching style overall?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely old school. Reading up about it a little bit was there was a method to his madness. I don't necessarily, it seems like this was his style with he was, I think, pretty tough no matter what, but he was a little different than he was at Minnesota with this group. I think because he knew the level that they had to reach and what he felt they needed, what it took to get there. And one of the things that I read was he, as part of trying to unite this team and get this team to play at this higher level, he was happy to be the common enemy. Everybody just unite in the fact that you hate me. and then take that out, and then take that out on your training and take that out on your opponents. I mean, it definitely probably wouldn't fly too well today. The methods were tough. Hockey is a little different as far as letting guys fight it out. I mean, hockey is a little different in that regard. If you had two guys duking it out on a basketball court, probably would be pretty frowned upon. But in hockey, that kind of is how sometimes things get settled. Obviously, the again, and having them do the effectively what we know as suicides for basketball, what they were doing, and basically pushing the guys to the brink
after playing a full game.
After playing a game,
yeah.
I guess you can't argue with the results. Certainly not my style, certainly not your style, certainly not a lot of people's style. But that the task that he had was monumental to get them to the conditioning level and the toughness level, because ultimately it all culminated in that speech and like the fact that, as when you've coached, again, it's at different levels, but like you face teams that you've had no business beating. Sometimes the hardest task is just like, let's make sure we're not already beat the moment we step foot on the ice or the court or whatever. Like you have to, they may kick your ass, but like you can't be afraid of that. You can't be intimidated by that. So I think really a lot of that and so much of what he did from day one, and not all coaches would do this, right? You get the Olympic job, you want to build the best team possible. Yeah, I get it. But day one, it was like, we need to beat the Soviets. Like that was the goal, because he knew, you're not going to get to the ultimate goal of winning a gold medal if you don't beat the Soviets. So it became like, that's just what that's our North Star. Like we need to do everything we can do to beat the Soviets. Everything else will fall into place if we can get ourselves to that point. And he did.
And like you said, I mean, it worked. There was a method to the madness, and like you said, a common enemy. And it's like, go ahead and hate me, but you know what? If you hate me while we're achieving our ultimate goal, then my job was complete. I did what I was supposed to do. And I mean, I love it. And like you look at the road to gold, and we'll get there in a little bit, but leading up to the Soviet game, they started off with a tie against Sweden, 2-2. They beat Czechoslovakia,
which they needed like a goal, like with the goal he pulled at the end of the game to get that tie, which ultimately they wouldn't have made the medal round if they didn't tie that game.
Exactly. So so to tie Sweden, and then Czechoslovakia was very highly ranked. They were one of the better teams in the world at that time. They beat them 7-3. They beat Norway 5-1, Romania 7-2. Sorry, I got my dog behind me in her Valentine's Day sweater. Romania, they took care of, and it's so weird looking at a thing with West Germany. Like East and West Germany, that's like, we forget, like it was the Cold War. Like Germany split in two, which is, like a lot of people that were born, like I mean, I have a remembrance of history from taking classes and stuff, but I don't really remember that because we were 7-8 years old by the time the wall came down in Germany. And it's just a different world. And so many people forget that game against the Soviets. Yes, that was in the medal round, but that was the semifinals. That was to get to the gold medal game and see who came in first or second. So if they lose that game, at best they're playing for bronze or not even medaling. So I think a lot of people forget that was not the championship game, although that was the I guess what would we say? That would be like the anticlimactic gold medal game, even though they did come from behind in that game.
Exactly. And that was the thing. Like Finland was a really good team that they had to play, and you had to fight against the letdown. And that's kind of like they sort of, but I watched a few like documentaries. There's a 30 for 30, and there was another one on Netflix that I actually watched the other day. And that probably is an area where they just didn't get into it in the movie, because the climax has to be the Russia game. But I guess like Herb kind of let them celebrate that for a little bit, but then he was immediately on their ass about the gold medal game, knowing that there's going to, a very strong possibility for a letdown. So,
Yes.
And we'll get into, he may have had a speech that was even better than the Soviet speech before the Finland game, but they couldn't show that in a Disney movie. So we can talk about that a little bit.
I'm gonna let you talk about that when we get there, because I am not aware of that speech.
Yeah. So
all right, I'm excited to hear that.
Yep. But yeah, that is. But that's tough to. It was a little anticlimactic, but like for a coach, again, like just making his job even that much tougher. Like you had to get the team ready, because they lose that game. We're probably still talking a little bit about, not a little bit. We're still talking a lot about beating Russia, but it doesn't have that same cachet if you don't ultimately cash in and get that gold medal.
100%. No, great point. All right, let's go to the next category. Best needle dropper song in this movie, and I have two on my list, but I'm gonna let you go first. See what.
Okay, I would be willing to bet that you have this one on your list, and not, it's not always typical that your best needle drop comes in the closing credits, but come on, man, like
I know.
Well, first of all, and it had been a long time since I watched this movie. I remember seeing it in the theater and kind of knowing what had happened, but like Herb Brooks passed away in a car accident, basically subsequent right around when the movie was done shooting, before it was released. So this movie's not like a tearjerker per se, like right. Some of these, but that hits hard. Like that closing subtitle there, which says something along the lines of like, Herb Brooks passed away in a car accident. Like he never got to see the making of this movie, but he didn't have to. He lived it. That's like, okay, that starts to, and then fucking Dream On hits.
Yes.
And like that, and then they go into like all of the players and like what they subsequently did after. Like,
which I mean, by the way, those guys' jobs too, like every single one of them was like, I mean, a big time, like they were either involved with like coaching or like, operations of hockey, or like some big time business, or, so
it's like some of them too are like founder of like Slapshot Capital, but like, you know what? Like we always talk about with like Ohio State, you're like, oh, like Craig Krenzel will never have to like buy a beer in Columbus again. Well, these people will never have to buy a beer in America again. So like they got the whole country. So they're doing all right. So I mean, a lot of them have been able to dine out their whole lives on this. Hey, that's
they earned it. They earned it.
But that needle drop is great. I mean, Dream On is like an all-time. It's an all-time song.
Yeah, I put two on my list. Dream On was number one, far and away. But I had to throw in a little Blue Oyster Cult. Don't Fear the Reaper. I think they're out. I don't even remember what they're doing, but they're out like at a bar or a restaurant or something, and that hits. And it's just a sign of the times, like that. That's what music does. It puts you in the moment of when this movie took place. And I wouldn't have been able to tell you when that movie. I would have said that was like early 70s, but apparently it was like late 70s, early 80s, right when that movie or that music dropped. So, but yeah, Dream On Aerosmith does not get much better than that. And like you said, with the Herb Brooks, the fact that he never ended up being able to see this movie, but he lived it. Well done. So love it. All right, let's go to our next one here. And let's go to some. You're always good for a few of these. Give me some good facts and trivia about this movie that we might not know.
Yeah, so so the first one that's really interesting. So this game, actually, the actual game against the Soviets was, and they touch on it like very briefly. It was played at 5:00 Eastern time.
Yep.
it was not aired on TV until the primetime, like television slot for the Olympics, which would have been 7:30, 8 o'clock. So the greatest sporting moment basically in most people's lives that were alive at that time was shown on like a 2.5, 3 hour tape delay. What a time. So that's just crazy. Like, and that could also be like, what's age the best, age the worst, whatever.
Yes.
It's just like, and I'm sure some people knew about it, but it just wasn't like, how would you know what happened? Like, they're not, unless you were watching the news or something. So that's just a kind of a neat. And I think if you were even on the West Coast, you probably didn't even see it till 3 hours later. You know what I mean? It's like, so
Wow. Yeah,
just absolutely like wild in today's age. So like, I couldn't even, if I tried to explain that to my kids, I think they would look at me like I had two heads. Like,
yeah,
what are you talking about? Like, they could have just gone on their phone and, check the score. It's just very weird that they were able to make that happen. But I guess that's like, Jim McKay was like played the Mike Tirico role of like being the host, and he just comes on the air at 8 o'clock or whatever it is, but he knows what happened. So he's kind of like, hey, like, we got a game here at the hockey game coming up here. And like but all the while he knows that this is one of the greatest things ever, but obviously can't show his hand. So I just, I find that fascinating still to think about it. So we talked a lot about and we've actually touched on a lot of these, the Al Michaels, like, kind of recreating the calls, talking about how it was very accurate. And one of the things that I think that was sort of didn't happen was Herb Brooks attending the Christmas party. Because again, it was kind of like he didn't fraternize with the team at all. He didn't really make much of an effort to get close with those guys. Again, he wanted to kind of be the common enemy.
yep.
And as you can imagine, I mean, Disney did this. It's a PG movie. Disney, the real Herb Brooks and the real team, there's, probably would have been more on the R side. I mean, but that's pretty normal with any sport. I had something else here. This isn't really like trivia, but this is also something that like they talk about it in the game, but it's a good one to kind of like revisit because of how crazy this coaching decision was made by the Russians. So they had the greatest goalie in the world. Tretiak was his name. I don't remember his first name. Now we talked about U.S. scoring that goal to tie it at the end of the first period.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled the greatest goalie in the world after the first period of that game. Why they did it, I don't know. But like that would be, I was trying to think of a parallel to that. And if you think just a couple weeks ago, that Broncos-Bills divisional playoff game, and Josh Allen really didn't have a great first half and made a mistake at the end of the first half. Can you imagine if if they come out and they say, Josh Allen's out of the game, Mitch Trubisky's in the game? That's basically what happened. So you want to talk about like either an all-time coaching panic move or second guessing or whatever. And I don't know, but like that can't be glossed over just how ridiculously crazy that decision was at that time to pull the best goaltender in the world.
And they had made I can't remember the number. It was somewhere in the 40s, 40, 42, 43 consecutive wins the Russians had. Well, I keep saying Russians, USSR had up to that point. And Herb Brooks was like, they're not going to pull the goalie. They don't know what to do. And like the coach literally didn't know how to coach from behind. Yeah. It'd be like throwing me out there as a hockey coach. Like I don't know the strategy. I don't know like which lines to use at which situations, but it's like this guy is literally coaching the best team in the world, but he did not know how to coach from behind. And
it's crazy. It is crazy. And that is a good adage too, when you're playing a team that's like, we've talked about that in a lot of different sports contexts of like punch this team in the mouth and see how they respond. They haven't been hit yet. And that's exactly kind of what happened. The only other like trivia piece that I have, because we talked about a lot of the players, the actors that played the players, they prioritized being able to skate and play hockey over necessarily being able to act. They had the luxury with the Jim Craig, the goalie character, that they could go for more of an actor. And he has some scenes where he, has some serious talks with Herb. And the reason why they could go with more of an actor for the goalie is because it's a goalie and he's wearing a mask. So in the games, they actually had a stand-in by a guy by the name of Bill Ranford, who was an NHL goalie who did the stand-ins for Jim Craig. So
very cool. Okay.
Cool. Nugget.
The old Jason hockey mask too.
That is aged great. Like, man, I love that.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that's our next category. Let's go to what has aged the best and the worst. So that was going to be my thing. The Jason hockey mask, even though like, they're wearing the catcher's masks and stuff now in hockey, that like when you see that Jason hockey mask in a horror movie, that has aged the best because like when I think of that, I think of hockey, even though I think of, a murderous killer in a Halloween movie, but I think of that. But to me, that's aged the best. How about like I got a few others, but what has aged the best for you in this movie?
Yeah, we touched on it earlier, but like the country uniting behind like one event, as I guess you could say, it's maybe aged the worst because we're not like that right now. But
unfortunately, not. Yeah. No, I agree. To me, the thing that is aged the best is the timeless underdog story, and like whether it's March Madness or a kids sporting event or a professional sporting event, everybody has like a soft spot for the underdog. Not an underdog that has no chance, but an underdog that like is competitive, that's hard working, that's going to get out there and might put a fear into like the big bad bully of, whatever the main, final boss or villain might be in a sporting event. And to me, like that will live on for forever, like the underdog story. So I think that's what's aged the best in this movie, as well as Kurt Russell's portrayal of Herb Brooks, which again, you and I, we didn't watch this, live. We've only seen clips. But to me, that's aged unbelievable. So,
yep.
All right. Well, when you got an age the best, you got to go with age the worst. So counterpoint, what has aged the worst in this movie?
I guess like, I mean, the only real thing like I could think of like offhand was like hearing about significant news events, either like via breaking news on TV or something on the radio. So that is kind of, anymore now it's like, oh, I saw that on Twitter like 3 hours ago. Yeah.
Yep.
They're saying, it happens in a lot of these movies. That's one of the Patricia Clarkson moments where they're sitting there and he's doing something and she's like, Herb, check the TV, and it's the Iran hostage thing. Like now it would be like, yeah, I saw that on Facebook like an hour ago, and like, you already know 50 things that happen, and you're probably not even watching TV. You're streaming something on Netflix. You're not even watching the live news feed. But those were the days. I mean, we remember those days when it's like when there's like breaking news on TV. It was like, holy shit! Like what something now it's like the breaking news, and it's like it's either something you already know about or something that's like very minor in the grand scheme of things. Like. But breaking news,
for good or bad, breaking news is not what it used to be. That's for sure. Because everyone, I guess, in a good way, breaking news, like I guess you could say both, good or bad. The news cycle only lasts for so long because there's this next horrible event that has happened, in the world or in our country, and. It's just that definitely has aged the worst because, the only other thing I was going to say, like related to hockey is, but you made a good point. Like these guys like weren't hired for their acting ability, they were hired for their skating ability. So like a true person that maybe watches hockey day to day might be like, oh, those guys aren't that great of skaters, or they're not that great of players. But like, to me, as a very novice hockey person, I thought they did pretty well. So I thought it aged not aged pretty well, but like for some hockey aficionados, maybe they're like, maybe the technicality and stuff, didn't go.
And we hit on the Kurt Russell kind of Bobby Knight style of coaching that's sort of been largely phased out of sports for better or worse right now.
Yeah. And there's some, I have a hard time with that because I was never like, I'd yell and stuff here and there, but like, I don't know, like there is a good thing about tough love. Like if you're, it's like it's like the it's the corniest saying out there, but your players don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. Like that's like the old adage, but that is so true. But these guys were literally playing for their state, their name on the back of their jersey, and then they realized, hey, we're playing for the USA here, and that is so important. And Kurt Russell's, maybe kind of a dick at some points, but like he did a hell of a job coaching these players up, and like you said, like whatever he did, it worked. It got him to the final. It got him to the final goal, and whatever he did, it worked. Whether you like that style of coaching or not.
Because there is like a great, obviously there we talked about the speech, but there's a great quote where he says, we don't have enough talent to win on talent alone, which I love that quote.
Yes.
And that sort of sums up, that sums up sports. I think 999 times out of 1,000, you could say that. Very, very rare situations you have a team that's talented enough to overcome, whatever.
Literally the best hockey team in the world.
Yeah. But like that really epitomizes what he was trying to do. Like, look, guys, like we're not good enough. Our actual talent is not good enough to beat these guys who just fucking hammered the NHL All-Stars 5-0. Like we are not as talented. Yeah.
And we didn't even bring up like what they beat them 10-3 in an exhibition game, 13 days before or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like they had already had the opportunity to get in these guys' heads, and they put it past them, did their job, and got the job done. So we're not even going to get really into the complaints and grievances unless you have some. But the only thing I will say about this is I read a quote, and I should have sourced it, but I didn't. But somebody said, and I'm going to quote the person that I don't have their name. They said it's an 8 out of 10 movie about a 10 out of 10 accomplishment. So it's like, it's a really good movie, but how do you trump, I hate to use that. How do you overtake the an accomplishment that cannot be overtaken? You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you portray that? I thought it was done amazingly well, but you can't do better than what was actually done. So it's a very good movie about an unbelievable accomplishment. So,
and the reality is you can't outdo the event. So like they did, like, so given the circumstances, they did about as good as they could do. I think the two complaints and grievances that you could have in that regard. One is this happens a lot in movies. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. Probably should be like an hour 45.
Yeah.
Because you're trying there is a little bit of that. Okay, like because you're operating in a world where you know what's happening, you know what's going to happen. There becomes that, like, especially as you rewatch the movie, sometimes that however whatever happens between tryouts and playing Russia, probably just like, let's just get to the Russia game because we know it's coming. So, and again, some of those are Patricia Clarkson scenes. Some of those are, him stopping at the Christmas party, but there's 20 to 30 minutes that probably should be edited out of that movie to get it to the inevitable conclusion sooner. And I guess the other one would just be like, there's also an R-rated version of this movie that's probably more enjoyable, but it wouldn't have been a Disney movie and it wouldn't have made as much money. So I mean,
Yeah.
that is like, people will say like, why doesn't just like make it an R-rated movie? Well, you make it an R-rated movie, it's going to make less than half the money that it made.
Right.
And this is a business.
Well
So
said. And this movie will have lasting power, and like tales grow over time too. Like this is an unbelievable story that has been made believable by this movie.
yeah,
And I think this will have lasting power for generations to come.
I agree.
So yeah, we'll go with that. Are there any unanswerable questions with this movie? Like to me, that's a hard. We do this with every movie we break down, but are there any unanswerable questions?
Like, it's hard because it's an actual real event that happened,
Right.
and you kind of know what ultimately happened afterwards. But I don't, this is answerable, but like, I guess like what, did Herb Brooks continue to coach in that method, like going forward, or was that truly just like, did he soften up or whatever? But, and was he a better husband to his wife after all this happened? But I don't think
did she finally stop nagging him?
And granted, I don't think she was that bad, and I don't think he was that bad. Wasn't. But it's like there's got to be that obligatory, like, hey, our son needs to be here at 4, and our daughter needs to be there at 4. Which one are you going to take?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm trying to figure out how to beat Russia. I'm sorry. So, yeah, I don't really have much for this one.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. I felt like we had to at least address it, whether it was answerable or not. All right, let's go to our next one. Next one is, who is your MVP of this movie? Or I'm going to open it up to the movie or the actual event itself.
I mean, the layup is the MVP of the movie is Kurt Russell. The MVP of the event is Herb Brooks. And we haven't touched on this yet, but we have touched on it in other shows. There are Kirk Cignetti parallels, I think, to what Herb Brooks did. But he really was the architect, and I picture like. And I was going to mention this, like, when he's got when they're trying out and they've barely even started to try out, and he hands Noah Emmerich the roster and is just like, here it is. And he says, well, what do you mean? Like, there's not, some of the best players aren't on there. And another great quote he says is, I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right ones. My comment that I have written down on this one is, the Kirk Cignetti like say that exact same thing to his assistant coach when he was looking at guys in the transfer portal like a year or two ago? Because there are a lot of parallels there. But honestly, like, style aside, whatever you want to say about tactics, whatever you want to say about anything, this is really the greatest coaching job that maybe anybody's ever done in the history of sports, and one of the all-time great leadership things that anybody did. And Kurt Russell then took this incredible accomplishment, again, he became Herb Brooks. He embodied Herb Brooks, and delivered a performance that, frankly, if you would have told me like he was nominated for an Oscar, I would have said that makes sense. He wasn't, but it was an Oscar-worthy performance. And to what you said earlier, it helped carry this movie that was very, very easily in the wrong hands could have gone really sour.
That's very well said. And I am so glad you brought up Kurt Cignetti too, and the Indiana Hoosiers, because that's going to lead into something we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the MVP of the movie has to be Kurt Russell, Herb Brooks, however you want to say it. But my second place person, because we're going on now, 46 years since this movie has happened. And who is still relevant on Thursday Night Football is Al Michaels. Like,
that's
still
good.
calling games, and it's like, do you believe in miracles? Like, everyone knows that line. I say everyone loosely, but like probably 80% of Americans know that line that are over the age of 30. And yeah, and Al Michaels has been a voice that has resonated with the American culture, American football, the NFL, whatever you want to say, for it has had lasting.
The Earthquake World Series. I mean, NBA. He did some NBA.
Yeah,
he's one of the. I mean, we had, we were lucky enough to have one of the all-time great sportscasters on our pod. Al Michaels is probably on the Mount Rushmore of all time sportscasters.
I would agree. I would 100% agree. And did you know Al Michaels has still never eaten a vegetable in his entire life? I don't know how that's even possible.
I don't either.
But my God. But yeah, Al Michaels, to me, he gets the he gets the runner up in the MVP.
That is a great one. That's a great one.
All right, and final category here. So MVP into what piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie? And this is a little tougher because it's not like this is a true real life movie. A lot of stuff we do is fictional. We're picking like random shit from movies that have happened, but this one is legit. What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie?
You want to lead off on this one?
All right, so I have two. Yeah. I have two, but I have two. I'm gonna just go with one, and then if you don't say the other one, I'll say the other one. So, it's right there in the picture. I would want the American flag that they're holding up, and with one or two of the teammates or the whole team or the coaching staff or whoever to sign that flag, and I would display that thing prominently. And I don't know, that would be the crown jewel of any sports memorabilia. I think just about anybody would ever have. So that would be number one for me. I do have a backup if you don't say it.
So I have two as well, and one is completely off the radar. But like, I would like some of Herb Brooks's get up, like the plaid pants, plaid blazer. We got to bring some of that back. But I like some of the outfits. So any of those outfits, probably the outfit from the Russia game. It's just like somebody shows up at your house for a party and you're dressed like Herb Brooks from the Russia game would be kind of interesting. The other one is, and I rewatched the speech today, and when he's given the speech, they kind of do like a view from the top. And you could see on the floor in the locker room, it's like 1980, like Lake Placid Olympics, like a decal there. I think I would like that, like in the middle of my basement, where I'm just like, people are like, "What the hell is that?" It's like, "Oh, you ever see Miracle?" It's like, that's the decal on the floor from the locker room, and just have that like in my basement as like the floor.
That's really good. Yeah, I mean, the stuff we pick usually in this category is great talking pieces, and it's like, it doesn't get much better than that. So if you don't have necessarily the room for a huge decal in your basement, or maybe you live in a ranch home that you don't have a basement or something, my other one would be a hockey puck. I would just want some sort of hockey puck from that. And again, I'm not a big autograph guy. I'm like more of like, I would love to take a picture with someone or just BS with them. Like I'd love just bullshitting with people, having a good conversation, or taking a picture with them, or both, obviously. And I would love, though, like some sort of hockey puck with like some signatures on that thing. And like, how cool would that be to have be like, what is that? What's that hockey puck? Oh, it's from the movie Miracle. It's actually from 1980, the Olympic Games, and the whole team signed it. It was the game-winning puck from the,
Jeez,
or in this movie, it's from 2004, and they used it as the puck that won the Olympic medal for the United States. So yeah, I'm always like a sucker for that. Or if I have to go with the bronze, give me one of those Jason face masks too.
That's well done.
I mean, you can't go wrong there, especially a 1980s movie. You're getting a Jason face mask. So speaking of that blazer, I mean, look at that. Look at that thing. Like, how good is that? Like, and like, talk about well casted too. Like, like the hair, the facial expressions, like everything, like the outfit is like completely identical. So, you nailed it with that. Like, I mean, what a great performance, but also like the casting is so damn good in this movie.
You could tell he spent a lot of time, like, there was a lot of research and preparation went into that role to talk like him, just to like, I mean, it's just, again, it's like we sometimes take what actors can do for granted. I mean, it's just like, he was Herb Brooks. He was a hockey coach. You would swear that this guy knew everything there is to know about hockey. I mean, it was great, and kudos to him. Because I don't think he's necessarily, Kurt Russell's not universal. When you say like who are the greatest actors like in the world, right, Kurt Russell's not the first one of the first 20 you mentioned, but this is like, he's damn good.
He's really good. Yeah, and he plays a lot of like fun characters too. Like I remember growing up watching a movie called Overboard with him and his wife. That I don't know if they're still married. I think they are. But Goldie Hawn, he was married to back then. So and he's in the Christmas Chronicles. If you have kids now, that's a really good movie. Big Trouble in Little China. I think he's like a truck driver. That's a really cool movie. He's in a lot of good shit. And a lot of just real good like stuff in the zeitgeist in American culture. So yeah, he's not up there as like the Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise, but like he is up there in he's maybe like the next level down. But he is an excellent. But like you said, he immerses himself in. He's like a Bradley Cooper type character now. Yeah. Where he is like what do they call that? A method actor. He like lives the character. But yeah, I mean, give me that flag right there in the gold medal. Give me that signed by all the guys. That's what I want.
And he's been married to Goldie Hawn since 1983. So
okay, so they still are married. In Hollywood you never know, but and correct me if I'm wrong. I know Goldie Hawn's daughter is Kate Hudson. So is that his daughter?
Not his daughter. Though.
Not his daughter. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a shame on that one, but like, I mean, she's got great genes regardless, because Kate Hudson, that's top of the mountain peak there as far as actresses go as well.
No doubt.
All right, so before we close out and move on to our final Winter Olympics draft here, any closing statements from this movie? I think
you want to hear the Finland speech?
I do.
Or not the Kurt Russell. It wasn't the Herb Brooks Finland speech. So we just went through this big long speech that he did for Russia, the Russia game. Well, it comes to the Finland game, gold medal game, and apparently, as story would tell it, he walked into the locker room and he said, "If you lose this game, you'll take it to your fucking graves." And then he walked to the door to the locker room. He stopped, he turned around, and he said, "Your fucking graves." And he walked out, and that was the speech. So
the fucking
the R-rated version that would have made it, but yeah. So Herb Brooks, fucking legend.
I mean, right there. That's about as simple as it gets. That was the speech.
Apparently, that was the speech.
Oh my God, I love it. That is, I mean, sometimes like I'm someone that not sometimes, most of the time, I get long-winded, and I get it. That's just the way I am. That's the way some people are. But sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
get right.
You needed the big one for the Soviets, right? Get the boys fired up, and you just needed to kind of remind them for that gold medal game that, look, if you don't finish this off, you will think about that for the rest of your life.
100%. Finish it. Yeah, exactly. Do you want the fucking bronze or do you want the gold?
Yeah.
Or do you want the silver? Or do you want the gold? So yeah. No, I love it. All right. Let's close out on this then. So the Winter Olympics are starting. The opening ceremonies are today's the 1st. I believe it's the 6th. So February 6th. So this coming Friday, which you had mentioned to me, NBC not only has the Olympics, they also have the Super Bowl. So it's a pretty damn big week for NBC coming up. You get the opening ceremonies on Friday, you get the Olympics on Saturday, they continue on Sunday, but you also get the continual Super Bowl and then the next week and a half or 2 weeks of Olympic winter sports, that's a pretty damn good run for NBC. So yeah, February 6th to February 22nd are the Olympics in Italy. So let's go over and let's do our favorite winter sports draft. So we're going to draft individual sports. And to me, the best thing about the Winter Olympics, again, Summer Olympics are probably more popular because there's just more well-known sports in that. But the Winter Olympics, there's just something about them. They're high speed, dangerous, they're action-packed. And there's a little bit of a chance of death in them, which is a little bit exciting. Like, no one wants to see anyone, die. But there is an inherent risk of injury in most of these sports. And so when I was going through and making my list, I looked through, and I think it was like from 2014. I think it was Sochi Olympics, and I looked at the percentage of injuries, and there was a higher than a 25% injury rate in most of these sports. And when you're talking about one of every 4 athletes getting hurt, not that we don't want to see anyone get hurt, but like that makes it that much more exciting because you have to be, and these are the best people in the world doing this stuff. So we're going to go through our best Winter Olympic sports. Greg, you're going to have the odd picks. I'm going to have the even picks, and we're going to go 1 through 12. So we're just going to go through your list. So you go ahead, give me your top favorite number 1 Olympic sport, Winter Olympic sport.
Yeah, so many. I'm gonna go just pretty vanilla here for the most part, but I'm just gonna go like alpine skiing, especially like the downhill. And you want to talk about risk of injury, risk of a lot of bad things that can happen. Going about 80 miles an hour down a mountain, basically on a sheet of ice. I don't know. I'm not much of a skier. I don't know how much of a skier you are. The amount of leg strength that it takes to hold your pose when you're going 80 miles an hour, and like, and just the craziness of that. And if you go down, I mean, you're breaking a leg, like at a minimum. But you're like Lindsey Vonn just got like Lindsey Vonn for probably like the more times than you can count on a hand was like airlifted off a ski slope for a fall. So like major, like again, like you never want to see that happen, like as you said, but like it's the fact that danger is there.
Yeah, certainly
adds the adrenaline rush and the excitement, and also like the respect to the people who are putting their lives on the line. So there's a ton of different events. So I'll say skiing is overall. If we want to get specific, I'll say the downhill.
Okay. All right. Alpine skiing and downhill, number 1. Mine is also skiing too, and it's similar to that. I'm going to go ski jumping. That's its own event. So it's fun. It's entertaining. And I mean, just watch it. Just watch ski jumping. It'll be out there. It's probably one of the more popular sports because of just the visuals of it. So, and there's like I said, there's an inherent risk of injury in all of these sports, but give ski jumping a watch. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, I always think about with sports like that. I know they have like different ways to train, like where you're not actually jumping, but at some point, every ski jumper has to do their first real ski jump.
Yes.
Like, what the hell does that look like?
So,
no matter how much you've like simulated it.
The only thing I can compare to me in my life is I've gone skydiving before, and the first couple times you go, I've only done it once, but like the first 2 times you go skydiving, you have to go tandem. You have to go with someone that's had X amount of jumps. And when we were walking out, the guy that I was jumping with said, tuck your legs. Like, so you have to tuck your legs, like basically hit your feet to your butt, because he says your brain is convinced you're committing suicide because you're jumping from 10, 12,000 feet. I jumped from 12,500 feet out of an airplane. And to me, it was the greatest thing ever once you get there. But walking up to that edge of that airplane was the scariest moment maybe of my life. And I would imagine, just like you said, for someone that's like going to do that ski jumping for the first time, yeah, these are trained skiers. They know what they're doing, but they are going, you know, they're doing something maybe they haven't ever done before. And it's a very intimidating looking down at that. So, all right.
Yeah, like, and just to like put in perspective too, like like I just Googled it real quick. Like the ski jumping record is 254.5 meters. So essentially yards. So like they jump on skis 2.5 football fields. And they have to land.
Yeah.
And they can't, if you get tilted in the air, it'd be all the shit that can go wrong. Like so that's a great one.
Yeah. I'm glad you Googled that, because I had no idea on how far they went, but
it's amazing. I know there's like different heights of the where you jump from, but yeah, that truly is like pretty amazing. So, I'm gonna go back to the basics here, and I'm gonna go with what we just spent an hour talking about. I'm gonna go ice hockey, and it'll be really in the Olympics. One, we didn't completely touch on it about in 1980. Part of what made this so special, you had amateurs that were taking part. Now you have NHL players or professional players, and they're not all NHL. It's fun in a different way. But it'll be awesome. It'll be one of the best events in the Olympics. It won't have that same mystique as it had when you had amateur players doing it, but it's still hockey, a great game, and you have some of the best in the world doing it. And if it's anything like that 4 nations thing that they did last year, there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be spirited. Let's put it that way.
So the only thing I did hear about this is apparently the ice hockey arena had not been finished until like a couple days ago, like literally a couple days ago. And the ice rink is actually a couple feet shorter. So the NHL deputy commissioner, I believe, was there to like maybe speak his concerns, because you're talking about the best players in the world that are valuable to that sport. So yeah, but like you said,
and it's not like playing on a basketball court that's 2 feet short. Like there's boards,
right?
So a little different. So
nope,
that's a valid concern.
All right, well, I'm gonna go on to my next one. I'm gonna keep these going across the bottom here, but I'm gonna go with the skeleton. And if you don't know what the skeleton is, yeah, you got 206 bones in your body, but the skeleton is basically a face-forward sled ride at about 90 miles an hour. And it is, I would imagine it's terrifying, but I would imagine if you're very good at it, it's probably one of the best things in the world. So that is my pick. So Yeah, skeleton. Just give it a watch, and there's going to be another event I would imagine that gets picked soon. That's the opposite of the skeleton.
And that's exactly what I'm going to pick next, because I kind of had them both, because I'm like, I don't know what's crazier, going 90 miles an hour face first or going 90 miles per hour laying on your back. So I'm going to go with the luge.
Yep.
It's like, it's funny because, like, I think there's there's an obvious misconception with some of these that's like, that's just like, oh, they're just laying on their back enjoying the ride. It's like, no, they're not doing that. Like, they're doing stuff. They're doing some steering. They have to have kind of, all the turns memorized and stuff. But yeah, that is something that can go backwards really quick. And I think there was even, I believe, a death, like maybe in the recent Olympics on that event. So
I think I have seen there's been 5 total deaths in the Winter Olympics, and I think one was in the luge. So yeah, you're right on that. It's awesome, but yeah, at the end of the day, you do got to remember these are people. And another thing, I think 4, 5, and 6 are all very, very similar here. And again, I had mentioned earlier how we've been kind of snowed in this week. So I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I had not seen this movie in about 30 years. So I put it on. We watched Cool Runnings. So for that, I'm going bobsled at number 6. And I'll tell you what, that movie was way better than I remember. Cool Runnings, the Jamaican bobsled team. And the end, and I know it's another Disney movie and it was probably played up, but like when they, not spoiling it, it's 30 some years old, I can spoil it. When they end up crashing because they had a shitty sled. But it's a great movie, but they end up crashing and their heads, you can see their helmets are like scraping across the ice for like, I don't know how fast they're going for like 30 seconds. And it's like concussion has to be at minimum, if you crash one of those things. So, yeah, but it's a beautiful sport to watch when it goes well. So, the bobsled and I know Jamaica they got a lot of flack back then, but they got a lot of respect after the fact too. So. Yeah,
and it was kind of a more like serious performance from John Candy too than like your normal funny. I remember it being funnier, but actually it's like the Jamaican guys are like kind of the funny ones. Like John Candy's really not that funny.
It's the one I can't remember. Is it Dougie Doug or something?
Yeah.
He like played in the Cosby Show, and he played a good role. He was like the comedic relief, because that was kind of like a little bit of a serious movie in some aspects. But yeah, very, very well done movie. But the bobsled as a whole is just a fun event. So we're halfway through. We got alpine skiing, ski jumping, ice hockey, skeleton, luge, and bobsled. So let's kick off the back half here. Number 7 to Greg.
Okay, we'll go with another staple here. We'll go figure skating. It's
all right, like now be specific. What figure skating? Which figure skating event? Are we talking doubles? Are we talking women's? I know you're not watching the men's ice hockey, men's figure skating completely.
I would say that I'll go women's figure skating then. The women's
I won't be too strict. I'm just gonna write figure skating.
Like individual, like I would say the individuals. Like okay. I'm not a big ice dancing. Yeah, it's beautiful, whatever. But I'm not a big ice dancing. I want to. I want to see the jumps, right? You want to see the jumps, and there is and again, it's like the beauty of the Olympics is, and Vern talked about this on the broad. He didn't know what the hell when he first started, he didn't know what a toe loop. Yeah, he didn't know the difference between an axle and a toe loop, and and I still don't. He does now, obviously doing it, but all is they're doing a jump and they're going to land on this one blade. And if they fall over, their entire hopes and dreams are shattered. Yep. Yeah, I very much liken it to the gymnastics in the winter, in the Summer Olympics, right? It's no matter whether you're into it or not, I'm not into the artistic side of it necessarily, but like the pressure that goes into these jumps and knowing that if they nail it, they may win the whole thing. If they lose it or if they fall, your dreams are dashed in that moment is like a pretty good adrenaline rush to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, when we had Vern on this past summer, when he told the story about Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding, and like that was just like that outside of the Super Bowl, I think he said was the most watched sporting event in American history. And for great reason. But yeah, like again, I just name dropped Oksana Bayul. How many like women's gymnastics or women's figure skaters have you known the name of just because of once every 4 years you tune in to watch it because it's beautiful, it's awesome, and when they parodied it on Saturday Night Live, any advantage to the weight gain? Yes. Power. Oh shit! All right. With that said, so you took hockey. That was my next one on my list. I'm going to go with anything aerials, and I'm going to loop this in because I think there's one event that's both aerials and moguls. So I'm just going to put that together: aerials and moguls. Basically, you're in the air, you're in skis, and when you're down on the ground, you're going over these bumpy hills, and it is intense and it is crazy. So anything aerials and moguls on skis is my next pick. So that's where we're at right there.
I just know every time I watch moguls, like my ACLs like or start to tear, like just watching those guys.
I mean, think about as we're in our 40s now, and think about like just going out and have like doing a 2-mile run or running a 5K or something like that. Like if you're not running every day or if you're not like in great shape, like you're feeling it for a couple hours or maybe even the next couple days after that. Like these guys and girls are like literally, like you said, putting every ligament, tendon, muscle on the line, and they are taking an absolute beating doing this, and they're loving it too. So so I that's a great point. That's a great point there. So all right, let's go to you for your next one.
All right, I'm gonna go. This is a little bit of a more interesting one. So it's kind of a random combination of two things, but I'm going to go with the biathlon.
Yes.
So that's cross-country skiing and target shooting, which they say, and I don't know who they are, but that cross-country skiing is like one of the greatest workouts and one of the most grueling things that you can do. And if you watch the cross-country skiing in the Olympics, like you will see when these guys hit the finish line, no matter what they're doing, they immediately collapse. So it must be pretty hard. But the idea of like, you're basically like taking your body to the limit, your heart rate going crazy. You just think about like, if you just had to like run, if you had to just like run around your house a couple times, do something to get your heart rate really up, and then do something that like requires a ton of precision and a ton of concentration. So it's like actually pretty damn cool to watch these people stop off after they've been going cross country skiing and then have to shoot at these targets. It's enjoyable. I mean, it's a little bit of a longer event, but it's different and it's pretty cool.
So here's how I would challenge someone in their late 30s, 40s, or above to do this. Drink 2 bottles of Gatorade. And the big ones, not the small ones. Go run around your neighborhood. You got to run at least 1 mile. And as soon as you walk back in your house, go find the bathroom, and you got to aim and hit the middle of the toilet.
I'd probably freaking be going in my pants at about 3/4 of a mile, but that's a really good analogy. Yeah, anytime, it is. It's like, and they have, I think now, with the technology. They'll have like their heart rate, like
Yeah.
yeah. But the fact that like it doesn't, I think so that's another one where people are like, oh, you're like walking on skis and then you just got to go shoot it. Like no,
I think they're going like up to 25 miles an hour.
yeah, yeah, and they go downhill, but then they also like there is almost nothing more exhausting than to watch somebody try to cross country ski like up a huge hill.
Oof, yeah.
It just looks horrible. And like I said, like watch these people when they hit the finish line. It's like watching somebody at the end of a tennis. It's like at the end of a tennis match, everybody automatically collapses. It's like that's what happens in cross country skiing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, let's take something that's really physically enduring and then add the Second Amendment and have them fire a gun.
There you go.
Yeah, it's that's a great one. That's a great pick. All right. All right, I'm gonna go with snowcross, which is basically a race to the finish line on a snowboard. And I think they do it. I'm pretty sure. I have to verify this. I'm pretty sure they do it in a half pipe. So it's good entertainment. And it's like they took a lot of the games from like the X Games and stuff, but it's like more mainstream now. So they are doing this in the Winter Olympics, but it is really fun to watch. And they also do that on skis as well. So I'm going to go with I think they have an event, and I don't know if you were going to pick this, but ski cross is another one. So I'll go with snowcross / ski cross for mine. All right, you're up with your pick here. We got 2 more to go.
Okay, I'm gonna go short track speed skating.
Yeah.
So that like. You remember Apollo Ono, like that name from like I do.
And you know who else I remember? Bonnie Blair.
Yeah. Now that was, I think she did like the long track. Like,
did she do the long track? Okay.
Long track, which is awesome too. The short tracks where they're all racing and they got to go around the, and it's like people take each other out and there's a lot of passing and different things like that. And it's super, super fun to watch. So it's a cool event. There's always like a little controversy. Like I know like there are certain things you can do and can't do. And sometimes you get disqualified if you cut somebody off or pass in a different way. But, it's a relatively new event. When I say relatively new, I think it was like, early 2000s maybe that it came up, but it's pretty fun to watch. But the long track is awesome too.
But that you're saying the short track speed skating is yours.
That's mine, is short track. You could say speed skating, but yeah. So
that event, I believe, is skated in the same where they do the figure skating. I'm pretty sure it's in.
Maybe it is.
I'm pretty sure it's in the same arena. So it's got to be. I mean, it's basically shorter than an ice hockey rink.
It's very short. I mean, they're going, and it's all about like. Yeah, it's all about like timing of like when you make your moves and like somebody jumps out in front and it's like how close you can cut the corners and it gets pretty exciting.
Yeah. I mean all of it's
and any of these events too where it's like there's peril like now this isn't like you're gonna like life threatening peril, but like you could be like the favorite to win this event. You could be the best in the world, and in the first heat, somebody could trip you up, and you go down, and you're out, and just like that, like your dreams are dashed. Which it sucks. It's horrible to watch. But the highs and the lows of the Olympics are really what makes it great. Like there will be some of the all-time cool, awesome, amazing stories, and then there will be like gut-wrenching agony of people that overcame injuries, overcame whatever, got to this spot, had their opportunity, and something goes wrong.
Yep. And you could win literally every race you've ever been in up to that final of the Olympics, and then your blade hits somebody else's, or something bad happens, and you're just out, and that's it. And yeah, it's luck of the draw. Well, there's our list. And my last one, I am going with the Nordic combined. And the Nordic combined takes one of your events that you took, which was cross-country skiing, and takes one of the ones I took in ski jumping and puts them together. So pretty that's a you got to take two disciplines and be damn good at both of them. And you're going to be tired, but you got to be athletic. You have to have great endurance, and you have to combine those with some physical skills and like just some physical disciplines to be able to not just land, but like be able to just finish, So takes a lot of really, really good stuff. But like there's so many different events. There's not a ton of different, if you look it up, like there's so many different Summer Olympic sports. There's not a ton of disciplines in the Winter Olympics, but there's a lot of fun events and individual competitions within the winter ones. But they added something called ski mountaineering this year, which you basically have to like get up to the top of the mountain, like walk up the top of the mountain and then ski down it this year. There's slope style, which is jumping, skiing, and obstacles. We talked about a bunch of, we didn't mention curling. I thought that might be drafted, but like that's more of like you could probably be drinking at the bar an hour before and still compete in that one. But it does take a lot of skill and talent and just knowledge in that one. So and there's a lot of other events we didn't.
And like this, like the half pipe, like snowboard half pipe.
Yes.
There's all this is getting me excited. I mean, obviously this whole show is getting me excited for the Olympics. So.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a good winter diversion. It's a good, there's always something on, and especially now in, the Peacock apps can be going crazy. There's going to be 10 things on at one time. So it's just cool. And it's like, there's just something about getting into something that you don't really fully know all the rules about, but it's just really fun. It's sport. It's fun. It's competition. You cheer your country, cheer for, some good stories and that the freaking, when that, you want to talk about a needle drop, the fucking Olympic theme song, when that thing hits, it doesn't matter. Like I could be in my bed sleeping and if you just blasted the Olympic theme song, I'm up and ready. My heart's pounding. I mean, it's like there's maybe the best theme song ever created for anything.
That you're not wrong.
It's up there.
It is up there. So it's the Olympics are in Milano Cortina, in Italy. So any of us, Greg's from Youngstown. I'm in the Youngstown area here, but you can always go out and get some great Italian food there somewhere if you're over in Italy. But if you're not, grab a bowl of pasta, watch some great Olympic sports. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. But thought we'd do something a little bit different. But hopefully you guys enjoyed our breakdown of the movie. Miracle. Oh, one thing we didn't do, and I want to get your take on this, because we didn't get into our best underdogs, and I meant to do this earlier. But let's just do our last 5 minutes of our best underdogs before we go, because you did bring up Kurt Signetti, and that they were on my list, and they came in at number 10 on my list. But give me some of your favorite underdogs in the history.
Boy, so the first one that came to mind when you said this, and it's probably, it has a lot to do with being an Ohio State fan, was Appalachian State beating Michigan.
Yep.
Now there's probably been some bigger college upsets since then, but that really feels like the first time that I can remember an FCS team knocked off a serious top tier program. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, that one was a great one. That was on my list. So I'll just list some of mine. just in no particular order. But yeah, I had App State. It was 34-32. They ended up like they took a pretty decent lead in that game. They ended up blocking a field goal to save the victory, but they won that game 34-32 in the Big House. The Indiana Hoosiers this year. I mean, you said the Kurt Cignetti story. It doesn't get much better than Kurt Cignetti in the Hoosiers. Unfortunately, the Buckeyes were a part of that story. But you know, good for the Hoosiers. I have no ill will or anything towards them. The first one I thought of, because we were young kids when this happened, but was when Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was like the unstoppable force, and Buster Douglas, who I believe is from Cleveland, Ohio, he got knocked down, I think at least once, if not twice in that fight, got up both times and ended up knocking Tyson out in that. And that was just like the shot heard around the world in the boxing community back then. So that was, you know, right up there for me. Then another one, the Giants beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I mean, yep. I know the Giants had to get to the Super Bowl. They were a really good team, but the Patriots were like 17-0 or something going into that Super Bowl, 18-0. And, you know, unbelievable team, Tom Brady, Randy Moss, everybody. And, you know, the Giants ended up winning that game 17-14 on, you know, in the last minute of the game. So that was in the helmet catch, David Tyree. Yep. You know, It took a lot. Like all these underdog stories, it takes a lot of different things to happen, but you know, luck is on your side. There's been 2 16-1 victories in March Madness now. A couple in recent years. One happened in Columbus, Ohio, not too long ago, where it was
Fairleigh Dickinson.
Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue,
and I believe Purdue was the #1 overall seed in the tournament. I think,
Yep. And then University of Maryland, Baltimore County beat Virginia, Virginia the next year won the national championship. Yep. So that was a hell of a win. I have, and I know this one will be, you know, sentimental to you, but like Jim Nance said it, the return to glory, Tiger Woods, winning the Masters, like after all the injuries, all the off the course stuff that happened to him. That was just a great victory. Probably my favorite one on this list, because it's personal to us, was the 2002 Buckeyes. I mean, how often is Ohio State an underdog, but against that juggernaut Miami team in 2002? That's not an American one, but for us personally, that made my list. Red Sox down 3-0 to the Yankees, come back, you know, win 4 in a row against the Yankees, then go and sweep the Colorado Rockies, win a World Series, first time in however long for them, 80, 90 years. North Carolina State, Jim Valvano. That one's always, you know, kind of personal there. Beats Houston in the 1983 title. How about this one? Boise State over Oklahoma in that Fiesta Bowl. That one's a great one. And then that was actually, I think that's my list right there. I think that's all I got. So that was my list.
A few more. How about the 2016 NBA Finals? Cavs coming back 3-1 against
how did I forget that
Warriors team for hitting home there. The Super Bowl III, Jets over the Colts, the Joe Namath guarantee game. I think they were like 16-point underdogs, somewhere along that line. Villanova over Georgetown in the national championship game for college football. You hit on a lot of the other good ones. This is just a fun, like kind of a fun one. So Man of War, this was years ago. You probably, I don't know if you saw this. Horse race. So Man of War lost one time in his career. Do you know what the name of the horse was that beat Man of War?
War of Men?
The name of the horse was Upset.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So, and therefore, why do they call these upsets?
Why? Is that where the term comes from?
That's where the term comes from.
Holy shit.
So can you imagine if it had like kind of like one of those weird ass like horse names, like
Drawing
Dingleberry Dave? You know, we'll be talking about the greatest Dingleberry Daves of all time. No, but it is. It's like the name of that horse was Upset. It's
I did not realize that's
yeah.
where we're going. I didn't know it was that obvious. That's amazing.
So
Man,
that was in 1919.
So 1919 is when the term upset. was became
Yeah.
a term.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, you learn something every day. That's a great one. That's freaking awesome. I had no idea about that. Well, that's some good ones. So yeah, I probably should have done this before we did our Olympic draft, but either way, that was some good stuff there. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. Like, that was basically 3 shows in one. We did a Miracle movie breakdown, we did our favorite underdogs, and we did our favorite Olympic sports draft there. So for Greg, I'm Justin. Hopefully you learned something today. Hopefully you had some fun. And we appreciate you guys watching, listening. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe. 330 Sports Show, Youngstown Studio, all that good stuff. Thank you again for watching. Watch the Olympics, get after it. And we are going to also have a Super Bowl / maybe little Cleveland Browns sports topics next week. But we appreciate you guys for watching, listening. Everybody have a great week. Stay warm, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.